Hello everyone, this is Film Master Viktor Neustroev. Please let me know if the sound and video quality is good. Okay, perfect. So this time we don't have any technical problems. Can you see my screen, the board? Okay, perfect. Okay, so guys, if you attend the webinar for the first time, could you please introduce yourself? Where are you from and what's your current rating? If you don't have a rating, it can be just chess.com elo. Before we start our webinar, let me share something. First of all, this is my website, tricksofchess.teachable.com, where you can find online courses. You might be interested in some of them, I'm sure, and coaching. Actually, I know many of you bought the training program for 3 months, where I analyze your games. If you click on it, you'll see. So here, I analyze 10 of your games, probably the longer games that you played. Then I understand what you should work on to improve at chess. And then I create a weekly plan for 3 months. So every week you should do these tactics, analyze these games, played a few games, what to do, which books to study, and so on. So if you're interested, just let me know, or you can just click here and get there. So that's the link. Anyway, what else? This is my chess.com profile, so you can send me a friend request. The other thing that I also want you to find is my YouTube channel. So currently I'm streaming this webinar. Here it is, but I'm not sure that this recording will be available after we finish. Maybe a day or 2 days after we finish. So this is the link. Please subscribe. Fine. Okay. What are we going to talk today about? We are going to talk about the games played by such a strong and really gifted player as Mikhail Tal. So today, by the example of his games, we are going to learn how to sacrifice pieces and how to successfully succeed into the attack. So please look at this. Look at this book. No, this is the name of the book. So it's in Russian, actually. It's written Into the Fire of the Attack, written by Mikhail Tal and Jacob Damsky. This is the book that I have since my childhood. I analyzed many the games that were played here, and of course, I today want to show you three ones that I liked, and maybe you'll find them helpful. Okay. So who do we have today? Let's quickly go through introduction. So Katalin from Hungary, almost 1,000. Alex, from Canada, 1,500. I believe even stronger. Denigel from Serbia, about 1,800, which is good. Gilo from India, 1,200. Tyler from Los Angeles, a little bit more than 1,200. Okay, Chinmay with 1,650. Oh, we have Diana today. Diana, you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like the training program that I created for you. Okay, Lava Luke from Egypt, Mark from France, around 1,600. Nivan from India. Okay, good. Gerard from Ohio, almost 1,400. So who do we have today? Actually, people from United States, Canada, India, and looks like no Russians. Yeah. Germany, Indonesia. Okay, and yeah, Igor from Poland. Okay, good. And of course, Brazil. Okay, so we have so many attendees today. Actually, you see, I limited my room to only 50 attendees. By the way, guys, so what I'm going to do on my future webinars, I really want to stream on Twitch. So if you like Twitch, could you please type pluses here into the chat? But the problem is that I can't connect this click meeting platform to Twitch. If anybody knows it, if anybody knows how, please contact me by email. This is my email, tricksofchess@gmail.com. So, can I make the screen dark? What do you mean? This one, but I'm not sure if I can do that. There is no dark mode. So YouTube, Twitch. Okay. Yeah, okay. So you like Twitch, which is good. So if anybody knows, please let me know how to stream on Twitch through click meetings. That will be perfect. Yeah, one more thing. Okay, let's start actually. So we spent 6 minutes on just talking and kind of introduction. So guys, I actually, maybe 3 months ago, I started working with a grandmaster who was a friend of Mikhail Tal. So he's still alive, and he's 75 actually, and he lives in Germany now. And I talked to him about the games that he played against Mikhail Tal, and he told me that Tal always blundered. Not often like club players blunder, but too often for a grandmaster. But at the same time, he was quite gifted. But when they played Blitz, the score was approximately equal. So the name of this grandmaster is Lev Gutman. They had the same coach together with Mikhail Tal, so GM, Lev Gutman. And by the way, if you are looking for a coaching with a grandmaster, you can also contact me by email. Fine. So as for the games today, the first games that we are going to analyze is the game between Mikhail Tal and Florencio Campomanas. It was played in Germany in one of the Olympiads. Right. Okay, so Tal was playing with white pieces. E4, C6. It's Caracan. D4, D5. Knight C3. One of the maybe most solid lines. I recommend you play in E5. This is what I do. As for club players, maybe a better way is just to take on D5 and then play Bishop D3 to restrict this bishop activity. So, but Knight C3 was popular, and here you know that D takes E4, Knight E4, then Bishop F5 is the best thing, then Knight goes to G3, and White's plan is to advance H4, H5, and so on. However, in this game, Campomanas decided not to play it, but attacked with Knight F6, which I'm sure is a mistake, because after E5, he has to go back to D7. This is what happened. And now looks like he loses tempers, because I remember this position. No, if E6, then C5, it is French defense. But now, when C6 and C5 needs two tempers, it's just a temper loss, and White is developed better, so White is better anyway. However, in this position, Mikhail Tal played even better. What do you think White can do? So the first question, what do you think White can do to prevent black pieces from development? So queen g4. Queen g4 is actually a mistake, I believe, because of knight e5. Discovered attack. Yeah, so guys, you are right. And Marcel is the first who told it. It's e6, threatening the knight and the pawn. So pawn takes, but now this bishop cannot be developed. This one cannot be developed as well. So bishop d3. Knight goes back to f6, knight f3, g6. What do you think is the most typical reaction to such moves like g6 when white is developed better? Yes, exactly. We are trying to undermine this pawn, make it a weakness, and we attack it with h4 with the idea of playing h5. However, if we play such a move, we should always analyze knight takes pawn move and maybe then sacrifice the exchange, maybe do something else. c5 was played in this position. D takes c5, knight takes c6. So actually, Tal won the pawn back, but now black wants to build a strong pawn center. That's why we need to play queen e2 to prevent e6, e5. Otherwise, black overtakes the initiative. Bishop g7. Bishop d2. Playing h5 is too early in this position. Queen c7 was played, so they are fighting for the center and they really want to play e5. So this is black plan. What do you think we should do? What comes to your mind? Castle queenside? Bishop b5? No, castle queenside allows black to play e5. So knight e5 cannot be played. Bishop b5, then probably castle kingside, I think. So if we play bishop to b5, then who will attack on g6? Knight b5, queen b8 is fine. No, actually, they castle queenside. So Tal decided, no, bishop e4 cannot be played. The queen is there. So what are you talking about, guys? So, and e5 was played in this position. So black was totally focused on playing e5, and he successfully did it. But he didn't understand that the place of action here is located on the king side. What do you think white played on the next move? So bishop g5 was actually played here. And yes, it's a kind of a sacrifice, because e4 can be played next. Okay, so h5, I believe, was the best move. Why? If this move is played, then what can be done? For example, if knight h5, then of course we capture on d5. And black has a very bad pawn structure, white is positionally better. So queen d7, then anything, bishop c4, for example. Or bishop c3, because the knight is not hanging if we get rid of the dark squared bishop. We can play a discovered attack. But what if after h5 they play e4? In such a case, oh, actually, maybe you will tell me how to play in this position. Take on e4 with the knight, but this is how you lose the knight. Is it okay? Knight d5, knight d5, knight d5, knight takes knight. Oh, actually, maybe this is a possible line. Bishop f4. Okay, so knight d5 maybe is a possible line. Knight takes knight, and then, for example, queen e4. Queen e4, maybe queen e4, and what can be done? Knight f6 back, I believe, and then knight h5. No, I don't think it's in white favor. They lose a piece for a few pawns. They also lose on h5. As for the line you suggested, bishop e4. Wait a sec. So what? D takes e4, and what then? Knight takes knight, queen takes knight, and bishop f5 on the next move. Oh, I'll show you. Bishop f5. Black is definitely better. No, in this position after e4, the best reaction is h6. Now, none of these pieces can be taken because in such a case we take there, and the number of pieces becomes equal. That's why the bishop has to move. But now, yes, we take on d5, knight d5, and bishop e4. When the bishop is on g7, it's a little bit better for us. For example, after knight f6, we can capture here, queen takes, and then just bishop c3, threatening with several threats. Knight f5 and on knight d4 is one of them. Rook h... No, this move cannot be played. What else can be done? Yeah, I think knight e5 is the next move. Knight e5 and queen b5 after that. So let's say, what move to play? Let's say bishop f5, for example. Then knight e5 just. Queen goes to c7. Then maybe this move. And the king is trapped, so he goes there and knight takes. And if now knight takes, then the rook is hanging. Bishop g4 in this position. Bishop g4 in this position is not so good. What can be done? What do you think? Maybe just rook d6 is enough. What's your opinion? I think yes, actually. Then rook takes f6 or bishop takes f6. Yeah, exactly. Even rook d6 can be played here instead of knight e5. I just like the idea of queen b5 check, but now I see that rook d6 is stronger. Okay, right. So you see e4, h5 could be played because white shouldn't be afraid of e4 because they have h6. But Mikhail Tal played a mistake. He played bishop g5. The idea is, of course, obvious. He wants to capture on f6 and then on d5. For example, e4, then knight d5, knight d5, queen takes e4. And that goes to f6. Okay, wait a sec. Maybe there is something else. No, I think knight d5 should be played. Knight takes d5 and queen e4. So in this position, white has a compensation for a piece sacrifice. However, the position is complicated. In the game, it was played bishop e6. So bishop e6, which is not the best move. Knight b5, sorry, not bishop, but knight b5 attacking the queen. Queen goes to b8, and then h5. If, for example, knight takes h5, what do you think white should do? Okay, if for some reason you can't enter the room, or you don't see the board, you can watch my YouTube stream here. So rook h5, you think? Rook h5, g takes h5, what then? g4, knight goes back to f6? Or g4, bishop g4? Yeah, maybe even bishop g4. No, take knight with the rook and then what? No, it doesn't work. Okay, so here the best move is c4. This is how white can undermine the center. D takes c4, then bishop c4, and we dominate on light squares. So white, for example, may castle in this position. Then c takes d5, bishop takes d5, and then bishop c4. With the same idea to threaten the king. King moves there. And after bishop e3, we are threatening with several threats, like knight g5 or g4 and then rook h7. As for bishop g6 in this position, I don't think it's the best option, because in such a case, just this move can be played. And then what? Bishop h7? Maybe, but king takes, and if g takes f3, so the queen can take, the rook is on f8. Then maybe just, what? King there? Not sure about this move. Or maybe it's better not to take on h7, but to play this move. G takes. No. Yeah, it's better to take. They take. Maybe still king g6. No. I don't know how to play. Wait a sec. Oh, queen d3, e4. So maybe h takes g6 is enough. Rook d5. No, I want to take here. Then bishop takes h7. King takes there. So here, queen d3 doesn't work because of e4. And if g takes here, g takes f3. Maybe something like that. And if this move, knight f6. Then bishop h6. Okay, so this move. Rook takes there, king g6. Rook goes there. I'm not sure this line requires calculation, but maybe a6 can be done. And then knight d4. Okay, no, I think here, no, f4, e takes f4. I don't know. I think here black is better, actually. I'm not sure. Oh, we can double check everything, of course. We have the engine here. It's not the best engine, but at least it shows who is better. White is slightly better after rook g5. Sorry. White is winning here. Yeah, white is winning. Let's check where I played a mistake. Looks like bishop g6 is a good move as well. H takes g6 is the best, after which rook d5 and white is better. Okay, let's close it. So you guys, you were right, bishop g6 worked. Okay, so however, instead of bishop g6 in this position, I suggested bishop c4, which is also good. That's why here pawn should take on h5, and that happened in the game. What do you think how to continue? Bishop takes f6 and then rook h5. No, I don't think we should sacrifice our dark squared bishop. Here, Mikhail Tal uses the position of the bishop on e6 and plays knight fd4. Bishop g4, f3. White is definitely better here. It's difficult to find a move. Maybe bishop d7 could work. Oh, by the way, if bishop goes to d7, how would you continue? I think knight f5 is good. Knight f5, probably, threatening this dark squared bishop. And trading the bishop for a knight is definitely not in black favor. White just dominate with a bishop pair here. So they want to make the position more complicated and play d4. F takes g4, knight takes d4, knight takes knight. Then they capture, so the number of minor pieces is equal. Rook d3. So now the position is materially balanced. And black plays knight to e4 with the idea to activate the bishop on g7, at the same time threatening the bishop on g5. Knight f5 is played, so the bishop is not hanging because of the mate on e7, but black plays queen to e5, knight g7, queen takes g7, and then I want you to find the move that white played in this position. What do you think? What white should play to be able to succeed here? Rook takes pawn. So you mean to give up the bishop on g5? Right? Yes, actually right. Rook takes d5. But here you should always calculate. So let's look at this position again, because I believe this is the key moment of the game. White is definitely better because black king can't castle. No, not, I can't say that it's can't castle. It's just still in the center and totally undeveloped. So that's why white should be looking for a tactical solution in this position. They are better. The position is sharp. Pieces are hanging, so that's why there should be something. However, of course, they both understood that just a few pieces left on the board. But maybe white can take the advantage of black king that is still in the center. That's why they are analyzing sacrifices, but at the same time active moves such as rook d5. Playing rook e3 doesn't make sense than just queen g5, pinning this rook. So, but rook d5 might work, because after rook d5, and for example knight g5, which happened in the game, white definitely has a strong attack with his queen b5 move. The king can only move to the f file. It goes to f7. Oh, there is no big difference. For example, if he goes to f8, we can still play rook f1, knight f7, queen takes b7, rook e8, and after rook d f5, it's time to resign because white is going to capture on f7, get knight and queen for 2 rooks, and then successfully promote the c pawn. Black played king to f7. Rook f1 anyway. Now he goes to g6, so why not to e6? Who can tell me? Oh, it's because of queen d7, of course, right? So he goes there, then queen d3 check. He has to go to h6. And now I want you to find the move after which black resigned. What was that move? Rook f5, g takes h5. But some of you are correct, such as, for example, Oliver and... Yes, Anusha, by the way, is right. Yes, it's just rook h1, threatening with rook h5, then take. So, for example, something like queen f7 or queen g6 won't work. We take there, he goes there, and then we pin him. And the game is over. So let's go through the game one more time. I mean, just quickly again, and try to sum it up. So e6 to prevent black's development. And actually, a better development could potentially offer some tactical options for you. Please remember it. G6. So G6 is always attacked with H4, H5 plan. Here is C5, and our task is just not to allow them to control the center to play E5. We castled, but allowed them to play E5, and in this position, because we did develop everything, there was a tactical solution that Mikhail Tal didn't find. It was H5 move. Instead, he played a weak move bishop g5. However, the opponent reacted with another weak move, knight bishop e6. And after that, Mikhail Tal played really well. Knight b5, h5, g takes h5, and knight fd4. So e4 was another mistake. White was just better in this position, but e4, I think, is a losing move. I understand why Campomanas played this line. He was a tactical player, and he was thinking that maybe in a complicated position, Tal was likely to make a mistake. But actually, Tal was also a tactical player. So, okay, the game looks wild. Yes, it does. But actually, look at the position here. No, at the moment here, white is absolutely developed. That's why he may take the advantage of black's undevelopment, and especially the king standing in the center. This is how we may realize that it's time for us to look for tactics. Bishop g5 is not a tactical move, so bishop e6 is just a way to continue with castle queen side, but they don't have enough time because after knight b5, queen goes to b8 and black can't castle. And now h5. So finally, when a few pieces were traded, white sacrificed on g5 because they understood that the d and f files are open, what means that we can join 2 rooks into the attack, And with queen b5, check, the king is forced to move to one of these lines. The d1 is occupied, is under white's control, so he goes to the f file. We can join the other rook and then take the advantage of a weak king. Moreover, I'll show you. So in this position, the other possible option, he goes to g6, was just playing c6. And if then knight goes, even c takes b7 was in white favor. White would definitely have a full compensation. But they played better, queen d3 and so on. Okay, the other game that was also played by Mikhail Tal. Let me just open it. It's the game he played against Vladimir Tukmakov, a Ukrainian player. Actually, Vladimir Tukmakov is still alive and is working as a coach in Ukraine. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6. So it was Rui Lopez. The pawn is not hanging, of course, everybody knows, because of d4. Bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3. So guys who play this position as black, I recommend to castle. After c3, play d5, Marshall's counterattack. Knight e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, and then c6 with the idea of playing bishop d6 and queen h4 with a strong attack. So if you like to play Rui Lopez as black, then this is one of the best lines you can do. And actually, there was a webinar that you may that you may watch to learn how to play exactly. So d6 was played. c3, castle h3 to prevent bishop g4, knight b8 with the idea to relocate it to d7, d3. So Tal also decided to play a slowly plan in this position, slow plan. The idea of such a move is to relocate the knight to d2, f1, and g3 to control the f5 square. Sometimes knight also goes to e3. Just keep it in mind if you play Rui Lopez. It's quite similar to Juco Piano, but actually this bishop is usually on c5, and this one is on c4, the light squared. Knight bd2, knight b4 first to gain tempers, then bishop b3, a5, a3. So if they take, white takes with the c pawn, probably with the idea to open the bishop on b2, then play d4 in future. But c5 is played. And who knows who is better in this position? What can you say? White is better, black is better, why? And how much better, actually? No, you say black looks better because they have 3 pawns on the 5th rank, A, B, and C. But actually, this position is just slightly better for white. But yeah, white can play on the king side. This is their goal. So c5 was a kind of a mistake because it allows white to play knight g5 and attack f7. d5, of course, there is nothing else than this. E takes d5, and now who can tell me what happens in case if knight takes d5? Yes, exactly. It's queen h5 with a double attack on f7 and on h7. If let's say bishop d5, it doesn't really change much. Bishop takes bishop, knight d5, and queen h5 again, threatening to take on f7. That's why after d5 they can't capture the pawn. They have to play knight b6 with the idea to capture on the next move. B takes c5. Bishop c5 won't work because knight to e4, one of the knights to e4. And if knight e4, then d takes e4, and white has a protected passed pawn. If, for example, just bishop f8 to save the bishop, then d6, opening the diagonal, bishop d5, one of the knight captures, and after queen b3, white wants to pressure on f7, so with something like that. And queen goes there. Also, the b5 pawn is hanging, so it's a kind of a double attack. That's why in this position bishop c5 is not a good choice, but knight bd5 should be played. So black attacks the f7. This is a weakness and actually the object of the attack in this game. What do you think can be done? What white should do? What would you actually do in such a position? Knight e4, just to retreat. No, yeah, c3 is hanging actually, but wait, if knight takes on c3, then knight or bishop takes on f7. Knight f7. I'm not sure if knight f7 should be played in this position. Okay, in this position, white decided to play d4 to protect the pawn on c5 and open the position. For example, e takes d4, c takes d4. That's right. So white is one pawn up in such a case. But black decided to play tricky. They played h6. What do you think Tal did at this position? So this is a critical moment of the game, and of course we know that it was Mikhail Tal playing with white pieces, so probably he did something very unusual. And I'm sure that at this moment he didn't calculate everything but trust to his intuition. But he is a pawn up and he is positionally better. His piece is allocated better. Black dark squared bishop is restricting. The bishop on b7 is not doing much because it has to protect on d5. And the main problem of their position is the pin. Yes, so knight f7 was played. King takes f7, and then d takes e5, with the idea to pressure the knight. If, for example, now knight goes there, what do you think we can do? How to gain a piece back? Queen f3? Queen f3, king g8 maybe? Oh. Oh, no, no, no. King. Okay, queen f3. Rook d1. Okay, so queen f3, king g8, and rook d1. But then rook e5. No, you may say bishop f4. And then I don't know what to do. Maybe knight g5 works. What can you say? Queen h5 now? I'm not sure what to do, but I think maybe this move works. No. D5, rook D5. Yeah, maybe this move works. So bishop takes. Then h4. Uh-huh. No, it wasn't a good idea. Or maybe, yeah, or maybe it was. H takes g5 is faced with queen g3. Rook takes d5. Threatening with a mate. So white is winning after rook d5. That's right. Maybe bishop c5. They take bishop c5 or bishop f2. Because if king takes, it's queen e3, he goes there, and something like a mate. Yeah, bishop f2, so he can't capture. He has to play something else. He goes with the king, and then we can capture on g3, can we? Yes. And this is how we protect on d5. Yeah, so no, queen h5 cannot be played. Queen d3 was the other suggestion in this position, which I also don't believe. I don't believe in it. Okay, let's ask the engine why what to do with such a move. So white is winning again. So queen f3, king g8. Well, my congratulations. Rook d1 was a winning move. You were right, actually. So even this move can be played. But when I was analyzing this position, after knight h7, I decided that knight f5 is more than enough, because we on the next move we play knight d6 and capture on d5 successfully. For example, bishop c5, knight to d6, bishop takes here, bishop takes d5, bishop takes bishop, queen takes d5, then what? Anything. And let's say king f8. Wait a sec. And what should be done? Bishop f4 or what? Bishop f4, he goes back. Bishop h6, g takes h6. Maybe bishop h6. Wait a sec. Maybe I did something wrong with it. So bishop c5, bishop e3 just. So we don't need knight d6 right now, but we can play this move later. And then take on b7, then take on d5, and also take on e3. That is better. Okay, sorry. So what do we have? Knight h7 wasn't played in the game. Instead, they captured on c5. E takes f6. Rook takes e1. Sorry. Rook takes e1. Queen takes e1. Queen takes f6. Knight e4. What should they play? In the game, Queen e7 was played. What if Rook e8, for example? How would you play in this position? What do you think? So they just exchange, but the problem still... there is still a problem with the pin on d5. How to continue? What do you think? Okay, so let me help you. In this position, bishop d2? No, queen d2. Because rook e4 doesn't work. So the problem with bishop... No, okay, so queen d2 and rook e4 doesn't work. We take here. They have to take. We take with the queen. Rook goes to e6. And after queen c5, we just have extra bishop. So rook e8 is not a good choice. Queen e7 was played instead. Queen e2, with the idea of playing queen f3 or queen h5 or even queen b5. Rook d8, queen b5. And in this position, black can't find a good spot for this bishop. That's the problem. If it goes, for example, to a7, then after bishop f4, we are threatening with knight d6. Rook d6, bishop d6, queen d6, and rook d1. That's why here it was played queen e4, after which queen b7, king goes to f8, and after bishop e3, black resigned. So can you believe it? Please try to explain why bishop e3 was the best and winning move in this position. What do you think? If black knights, queen f7, that's right. Yes, exactly. Marcel is correct. So if bishop e3, for example, and what else actually to play? Because the next move is rook d1. So if they play this move, we play rook d1, knight c3, and we just take the advantage of this pin, trade rooks, and checkmate on f7. But if he captures here, f takes, even queen e3 doesn't work. After king h1, we can still play rook f1 and succeed, or rook d1, for example. Here, what they can do? They can't ignore, so queen d3 maybe. But queen d3 is still rook d1. Queen e2, and what do you think? Rook d5? No, guys. Unfortunately, rook d5 is a blunder because of queen f1, king h2, queen f4, and then they just repeat the position. It's a perpetual check. If he goes there, it's still a perpetual check because of this. No, not this. Because of this move. No. Wait a sec. Why? This is a perpetual check. So queen f1, king h2, queen f4 check, king g1, queen e3, he goes to h1. Ah, exactly. That's why, because of queen c1. And now this move cannot be played. Because rook takes, queen takes, and this is equal. But bishop can be played here. Oh. If bishop moves, then black is losing here. So even rook d5 could be played, but in this position, instead of playing it, just queen a7 was played by white with the idea to play queen g1 to no, first to take on d5 and later play queen g1 to get rid of all these complications. Why? Because nothing works. Something like queen e5 is not enough. The d5 is attacked several times. So, for example, bishop takes d5, rook takes d5, and after queen e8, we just take on d5 and gain a rook. Okay, fine. So, yeah, after bishop e3, black resigned in this game. What can we learn from this game? So, first of all, if you want to play Ruy Lopez with white pieces, you can follow Tal's plan. But actually, here Vladimir Tokmakov was not chose not a popular line of knight b8, knight d7. And then finally, white took the advantage of this pin. They sacrificed the knight, but then understood that they could easily win a piece back because of that pin on d5. Even if knight goes to h7, something like queen f3 or knight f5, as I recommended, worked. Yes, here black got into trouble because of the weakness on f7, actually. Oh, and the last game that Mikhail Tal played against Leonid Shamkovich. So that was a USSR championship. However, then Leonid Shamkovich immigrated to United States. And it was another Caracan game, e4 c6, d4 d5, knight c3, d takes e4, knight d4, knight d7. Actually, I was looking at my Instagram, and then somebody posts that in this position, Magnus Carlsen was playing with black pieces, and someone played queen e2, and he automatically reacted with knight f6 and got this checkmate on d6. Who can tell me? Is it true? Did Magnus blunder such a checkmate? I think it's just a joke. I don't believe in it. Yeah, I don't think neither. Okay, queen e2, there is such a move with the idea of knight d6, but then just this knight goes, and black is okay. White still has a playable position, but black is okay. Knight f3 was played, knight f6. Here, two common moves are to trade and go to g3, but Mikhail Tal decided to retreat to c3. e6, bishop d3, c5, queen e2, with the idea to castle to the queen side later, and also to locate the rook on the d file. because the enemy queen is there. So bishop c5, knight b3 with a tempo, bishop moves to d6, bishop g5 to castle faster. Now there is a kind of a discovered attack on the d file. Queen c7, king b1 is a prophylaxis, otherwise bishop f4 could be played, and trading these bishops and simplifying the position is not in our favor if we are looking for how to win. Black castled, and white played knight e4, and I believe you understand the idea. So if knight takes, it's queen e4 with the pressure on h7, so that's why g6 has to be played. And of course you understand that the best reaction to g6 is h4, h5, and so on. Oh, of course they didn't take. The best move was bishop e7. After that, white is just slightly better. This move wasn't played on the board. Instead, Shamkovich played bishop e5. What do you think white should play in this position to take the advantage of bishop e5 move? f4, exactly. So here Anusha is correct. It's f4 move. And what can be done? So bishop can't go anywhere. With bishop d6, knight d6, and they discovered attack. So they have to take. But now we take on f6. And knight takes f6, bishop takes f6. This is how we ruin their pawn structure. Queen g4, no, bishop g5 doesn't make sense. This is how we can just play h4 and so on. King h8 was played. How would you continue in this position? Queen h5, queen h4, and rook f1. Queen g5 is a blunder, of course. Okay, right. So rook hf1 was played. Queen h4, bishop g4. Oh, no. This move cannot be played. Queen h4, f5 should be played. Something like that was played a little bit later. Rook hf1. And here the best reaction was e5. And if queen h4 or queen h5, f5. Queen f6, king g8. And then g3. If bishop goes there, then we can use the other rook. So then we take on e5 or on f5, for example, queen b6. And we capture on e5. The position is winning, of course. Everything is hanging. And at least we will be a pawn up, but maybe even more. So e5 was a better option, but Shamkovich decided to play bishop e5 back. And now I want you to find the move that Mikhail Tal played. I believe most of you would play queen h4 or queen h5. But no, Tal played better. What is the best option? Rook f6? No, rook f6. Rook f6. Clever. I'm not sure if it's enough. So rook f6, bishop f6, and queen h5, and there is no defense of the h7 square. Makes sense. Wait, rook f6 is actually a mistake. I'll show you. If rook f6, then just rook g8. The queen is under attack. For example, queen goes to h4, then rook g7. The rook on f6 is the object of the attack, so rook h6 should be done, then f5. And this is how they save their position. Black saves. Queen h4, queen h5 just faces with f5. So here the best move is bishop h7. If king h7, of course, the answer is obvious. You just play rook d3 and rook h3 as the next move. And this is what is called a linear checkmate, or well, some people say line mate, but linear checkmate. So the queen covers the g file and the rook attacks through the h file. Such a checkmate can be done with queen and rook or just with a rook pair. So bishop h7, what should be done? f5 was played. f5 was played in this position. Queen h4. King escapes to g7. How to continue? What do you think? Okay, so Javier decided to play g4. Why g4? Can you please explain? And by the way, can you please tell me what's your elo? Rook d3, rook f3, two other solutions. So rook f3 was actually played by Tal. And g4 is the best move here. Nobody suggested queen g5, but queen g5 makes sense, however, is a mistake. So, for example, if he goes there, we can play queen h6. And after this move, queen h5, threatening with a checkmate. Okay, I'll show you. And then take on f7 and check on d8 with the rook. And the game will be over. Right, okay. But the problem is that here, after queen g5, he can just capture. And if we do rook d3, he goes bishop g7. Now, if rook g3, queen e5, threatening on b2 and protecting on g7. And this check, of course, doesn't work. Just king g8 and that's it. Even if you continue like that, it still doesn't work. Just rook d8 and queen h7 is not doing anything. This move, still queen e5. Sorry, of course, queen e5. Protecting on g7. So everything is protected. g4 was the best option, but Tal played rook f3 first. Rook e8, and then he played g4 with the idea to open it. f4. They keep the position closed. g5. King f8. So white attack goes well, but the problem is that there are no open files for the rook. And black has a good dark squared bishop that supports the g7 square and the whole diagonal. What do you think white should do in this position to be able to succeed? Rook g1 and push the g pawn. I'm not sure if it's enough in this position. Queen h6, bishop g7. g6. G6 looks good. Maybe g6. g6 f5, I believe. That's the problem. And queen g7 can always block any checks. Okay, rook f4, and what if bishop f4? Okay, so actually you're right. It's rook f4. So the Tal sacrifices the whole rook to be able to succeed in this attack. So let's understand what was in his mind. So rook d8, for example, if rook d8, then just rook g1 is enough. Bishop f4, g6, with the idea of playing g7. No, something like, let's say bishop e5 here. It doesn't work. G takes f7, king takes f7, and bishop g6. And then it will be a checkmate. Queen g5, bishop g7, bishop f7 check, queen g6, queen h5, and that leads to a checkmate. If it's not a checkmate, for example, if the queen blocks, well, actually, if queen blocks, there is queen d8, which is also a checkmate. Not leads to a checkmate. So rook d8 is not a good idea, but of course, Shamkovich took this rook, and Tal reacted with queen h6. King e7, the only move. Queen f6, king f8. However, bishop and queen is not enough here to checkmate. That's why white should use the pawn, g6. So g7 is a threat. What should be done? If rook move doesn't work, neither this nor that, no rook d8, no rook e7, here just g7, g8. If rook d8, I still believe it's just rook takes rook. So bishop h6 looks like the only move that works. But in such a case, we just continue with rook f1, threatening with a mate on f7. And of course, the only way to protect here is to play this move, after which queen h8 is a mate. Rook d8. After rook f1, actually, black resigned immediately. But let's realize what happens in case of rook d8. If rook d8, then queen h8, king goes there, rook goes to f7, king d6, queen d4, king c6, and queen c5 mate. So when Tal realized this sacrifice should be done, I'm sure he calculated this line to the very end. It's not actually so difficult. It's just 8 moves to a checkmate, but even after a few moves, it's obvious that white is winning. So queen h6, then queen f6, and g6 with the pressure on the f pawn and with the main idea to play g7, g8, or g7 mate, and that's it. So what you may learn from this game? First of all, here, please look at the position. White spent several tempers and allowed black spent several tempers and allowed white to capture on f6 and ruin black pawn king's pawn cover. Then at this certain moment, white obtained material advantage on the king side. And every time when you have a material advantage on the king side, you should be analyzing sacrifices that ruins the enemy king's pawn cover, such as bishop h7 here. Because you see, enemy pieces can't join the defense, so it's time to sacrifice. But of course, every sacrifice should be well calculated. When you get better, you can do like Mikhail Tal did, sacrifice by intuition. But at this level, I kindly recommend you to calculate everything. So then he joined the rooks to the attack and tried to open the files to be able to successfully attack with the rooks. Then he realized that the bishop on e5 is the main problem that doesn't allow white to checkmate, and just decided to get rid of it by sacrificing the rook. If they don't take the bishop, then the f file decides the game. Okay, so thank you for your attention. Please suggest new topics for the webinars. You can email me at tricksofchess@gmail.com and suggest a new topic for the webinar. If you're looking for private lessons, you can also contact me, and I'll definitely reply. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me just send you the link once again here in the chat. Okay, so I hope you enjoy my webinars and hope to see you next Sunday.